पड़ेगा।
बिल्कुल। जतिन जी भी आ गए हैं। जतिन जी, गुड इवनिंग।
Good morning, everyone. Very good evening, everyone. Very warm welcome to this absolutely wonderful and beautiful evening that brings together so many people like you. I, Ajay Daya, Associate Member of ICAI, and today I have the pleasure of being your host on this very first day of 4 days VCM on GST, which is organized by Sonepat branch of ICAI, jointly held with Amritsar and Yamunanagar branches of NIRC of ICAI. I offer my gratitude to Sonepat, Amritsar, and Yamunanagar branches of NIRC for providing me this opportunity of being your host today. And I also appreciate efforts of CM Amit Kumar, Chairman of Sonipat branch of NIRC of ICAI, for organizing such a knowledgeable series on VCM, on GST. These VCM are very helpful for all of us, as these help in updating of our professional knowledge, which further help in providing best services to our clients and serving the economy with best solutions. And we have, so now let's start with the first day. With the first day of 4 days VCM, and today we are discussing about topic appeals and revision under GST, which is to be taken up very nicely by CA Jatin Harjai sir. Welcome sir. Now I would like to invite CA Amit Kumar, Chairman of Sonipat branch, to please address our guest speaker today. Amit sir, over to you.
Thank you, Ajay ji. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone for joining today VCM on very important topic, appeals and revision under GST in today era. I would like to thank you, Amritsar and Yamunanagar branch, for joining and their involvement in VCM series on GST jointly with us. We have CA Sumit Jetli ji, Chairman from Amritsar branch, CA Anuj Jindal ji, Chairman from Yamunanagar branch, and Jatin Harjai sir from Jaipur as an eminent speaker who have tons of knowledge and experience in the field of GST and ready to impart their knowledge on today's topic. Jatin sir will summarize the various provisions of statutory right of appeal and revision available to aggrieved person against any decision or order passed by education authority under the provision of GST. So without taking too much time, I would like to hand over the dice to CAJG to take this VCM forward. Thank you, Ajay.
Thank you, Amit ji, for your kind words. Now I want to brief you all about profile of Jatin Harjai sir. Jatin Harjai sir is a practicing advocate. He is practiced as chartered accountant for more than 15 years before starting legal practice. In short span of time, he has become recognized for his contribution and expertise as a knowledgeable professional advisor. And he is guest faculty on various educational, professional, and industrial platforms, and shared his views on VAT, CST, entry tax, works tax, and GST. As a matter of GST awareness and preparedness before and after implementation of the biggest Indian tax reform, he has vastly addressed to professionals, industry, and government officers. He has addressed more than 750 seminars, workshops as faculty speaker on indirect taxes in almost all regions of the India. Apart from India, he shared his knowledge in international seminars, workshops at UAE and Thailand. He authored many articles on indirect taxes, which were published in leading tax journals and contributed in many publications of ICAI on GST and UAE VAT. Mr. Harjai is actively engaged in representing industry before department at various levels. He has represented in the tax advisory committee before CM of Rajasthan for giving recommendation and suggestion before state budgets. Apart from TAC, he has represented Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Rajasthan Tax Consultants Association, Tax Consultant Association Jaipur before Commercial Taxes Department at various levels in relation to modification in VAT laws of the state and development of GST. And Jatin leads team of professionals, which includes advocates, chartered accountants, and company secretaries, and is providing services to clients which spread in whole of the country. With a core expertise in indirect taxes, he has been serving various corporates and entrepreneurs, including listed companies in various areas like consulting, due diligence, restructuring, and litigation. There are many landmark judgments to his credit. Many are published in leading tax journals. He's having vast industry experience, including that of infrastructure, mining, real estate, construction, hospitality, online gaming, broadcasting, manufacturing, e-commerce, distribution, logistics, and exempt trade, etc. Mr. Harjai served as lead consultant in the World Bank project for GST implementation for Government of Rajasthan, executed by Deloitte. Moving ahead, Jatin sir is trainer of NACIN, that is National Academy of Customs and Indirect Taxes, Government of India, for GST training to be provided to trade and industry as well as GST officers of the central governments. Apart from central tax officers, he has given extensive training of GST to state tax officers of Rajasthan, West Bengal, Assam, New Delhi, and Telangana. Further, he is on the panel of NSIC, an undertaking established by Ministry of MSME, Government of India, for imparting training on indirect taxes. Apart from panel GST trainer of ICAI, Jatin was part of faculty identification and trained the trainer programs of Indian GST as well as UAE VAT, whereby he selected members of the institute from various parts of the country and provided them training of Indian GST and UAE VAT for being a trainer. Jatin is a keen learner and is having deep interest in all academic activities. He is actively participating and contributing in study groups and workshops, and is regular contributor in so many academics and professional bodies in different capacities, such as co-opted member of National Indirect Tax Committee of Federation of Indian Industry, year 2021 and 22. Special invitee member of National Indirect Tax Committee of ICAI 2017-18 to 2019-20. Co-opted member of National Indirect Tax Committee of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industries from 2018-19 to current year as well. Member of panel of GST experts maintained by CIRC of ICAI. Member of panel of GST experts maintained by EIRC of ICAI. Chairman of Technical Research Committee of Tax Consultant Association of Jaipur. Founder of study group framed by ICAI for study, research and recommendation on GST. Co-opted member of Direct Tax Committee of ICSI for the year 2018. Member All India Federation of Tax Practitioners. The member of the Chamber of Tax Consultants Mumbai. Member of the Rajasthan Tax Consultants Association. Member of Bombay Chartered Accountants Society. Member of Tax Consultants Association Jaipur. Member of Confederation of GST Professional and Industry Mumbai. Yet there is a lot to say about him, but only a brief could be shared. Moving ahead. So, sir, please start with the technical session. Over to you, sir.
First of all, Amitji, chairman of the branch. And I can see on the screen, Anuj Jindalji, chairman of Yamunanagar branch, Jagjit Singh ji, an NIRC member, Ajay ji, and all friends, colleagues. Very good afternoon to each and every one of you. I'm sure, or rather I should compliment the branch कि आप लोगों ने बहुत ही appropriate topic के ऊपर एक पूरा series plan किया है, which will be actually very, very useful for all the members. And it's absolutely appropriate time.
Thank you, sir.
See, without wasting anything on introductory part, let me directly start my topic. We first of all need to understand what kind of proceedings are there under any statute. It's more than maybe 4.5 years, close to 5 years that GST has been implemented. Now we have started seeing nuances of different kind of interpretation of the provisions by different authorities. So it's bound to happen that different issues आएंगे. You will receive so many notices, different type of inquiries. One will have to respond to them. If the authorities are not satisfied, they'll pass adverse orders. Then you'll have to file appeal before the appropriate authorities. And if the first appeal is not succeeded, then second, maybe after that, High Court. So we all should be geared up with how we are going to respond to show cause notices, more specifically, and how we are going to file an appeal. I would say these are two very critical aspects. Today, since my topic is appeals, I will not, and there is a, if I'm not wrong, there is a separate session on show cause notices. So I'll not touch that show cause notices part. If something required in this session, then only I'll touch that. Otherwise, I'll not touch that part. And member should be aware. Amit, just wanted to check whether should I use English or maybe hybrid language, or what you prefer? Hindi, what you want?
Mix.
Mix. Right. See, one very important aspect under this law is whenever you are undertaking the practice of litigation, that means from the day you receive the notice, first notice you receive, you should analyze all the aspects, which I'll go one by one, each and everything I'll try to go. And you should be well aware at what, and, sorry?
इंग्लिश में रखिए क्योंकि मेंबर साउथ से भी ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं.
अच्छा, okay,
तो इंग्लिश बेटर है.
Okay, no problem. See, one should be well aware that at an appropriate point of time or at this particular stage, maybe appellate remedy will not serve any purpose. Can you or should you advise your client to directly go to a high court? Before I go chronologically or step by step, let me give you a small example for it. One should be very well aware of it. Let us say there is a case, let me give you the live example. There is an entry number 23A in the exemption notification number 12/2017 rate notification, which was inserted with effect from 13th October 2017. It says annuities received for access to road are exempted. This is what I entry. Since the time this entry has been inserted, each and every person who were receiving annuities in the infrastructure sector, this is a particular exemption which applies to a particular industry, infrastructure industry. Whosoever assessees are there who were working under a full annuity mode or hybrid annuity model, they were availing this exemption. Invariably, they were availing this exemption. In fact, the relevant government authority like NHAI has also issued their circular. Please mind, circular of NHAI. I'm not on the GST department circular. They issued a circular referring to this particular insertion, entry 23 in exemption notification. They issued the circular. Since now it is exempted, annuities are exempted, we will not make payment of GST on it. I'm just referring to it because just to get a feel that it is not only the taxpayer, even the government authorities were under the impression that this annuity is exempted. Annuities received by the infrastructure companies are exempted. Now what happened on one fine day on 17 June 2021, one circular gets issued. Circular number 150/2017, whereby board says that annuities received for construction are not exempted. They have given their own reason, which is absolutely awkward. I'm not entering into that because I want to remain at my topic only in your discussion. So what that circular says, that annuities received for construction are not exempted. Now what happened since last 4 years? Each and every person was claiming that exemption. And all of a sudden there is a circular which says exemption is not. First of all, can circular itself override the provisions of the notification? This is also questionable. Then the powers exercised by the board is also under question. Thirdly, merits of the view obtained in that circular is also important. That's in my humble opinion, that's also wrong. But what happens, we all know the moment there is a circular, each and every government authority or the assessing authority are bound by that. For them, it is a Bible. For the authorities who are under the implementation of the law, they treat circular as a Bible. If you are going to show them the act, they'll say, no, we don't want to look at it. So board has said it is not exempted, so it is not exempted. Now, please give me an answer. You receive a show cause notice. Let us assume you have a client like this who was claiming an exemption under a bona fide belief, since each and everyone was claiming. Number one, government also was under the impression that it is exempted. Government departments, they have given a circular. Even the Ministry of Highway and Road Transportation Authority issued a circular on it. NHAI issued a circular on it. So each and everyone was having an understanding. And if I say legal understanding, my understanding even today is that it is exempted. But what's going to happen because of this circular? Now you have received, your client has received a show cause notice that, okay, you have treated this annuity as an exempted one, but as per board circular number so and so, this is a taxable one. So your turnover was rupees, let's say 5,000 crore, and GST at the rate of 12%, you apply whatever rate is there. 12% GST rate, you pay the tax of rupees this much. 600 crore rupees, you pay the tax. Now what's going to happen? Are you going to file the appeal? Show cause notice, if first of all, if it is a show cause notice, now you are going to file the reply. What will happen to that reply? Do you have a 1% expectation that your reply will be honored? In my humble opinion, no. Practically, no. Because there is a circular, they are referring the circular only, they will confirm that to the circular itself. So adjudicating authority will not do anything. Number two, let us assume you file a first appeal. Now you are supposed to deposit the pre-deposit as well. How much? 25 crore as of now at this stage. Whether you will get a relief from first appellate authority, my humblest understanding is again no. Because normally, I'm not saying this is a legal position, but normally first appellate authority and second appellate authority, that is tribunal as well, they don't go beyond circular. They are not the authority to check whether the circular is right or wrong. This authority lies with the High Court only. 50 crore you will have to also deposit as a pre-deposit for the second appeal. Total 75 crore you are supposed to deposit and you will not get any relief. Don't you think it is an appropriate place whereby you should file a writ directly? Whether you can file a writ or not, I'll discuss it separately. But I would say this is an appropriate case because you know that neither the assessing authority nor the first appellate authority is going to give you a relief. In precisely the circular is under challenge. In my humble opinion, one should directly file a writ in this particular case because all other remedies will be futile exercise. So we should be well aware that at what point of time, what kind of advice is to be given to the client. If alternate remedy is there, effective alternate remedy is there within statutory provisions, just like appeal, first of all, it has to be exercised. But if either it is not available or it is not effectively available, in that case, you will have to knock the door of the court. Otherwise, your client will be in a problem. Many a times I have seen that without understanding these aspects, directly people start filing appeals, which may be damaging, for the particular our client. Now let us understand what kind of proceedings are there under the GST law. Typically, I divide whole of the collection process in three parts. Or before I start collection process, let me share with you a very relevant and appropriate constitutional provision. Amitji, can you give the sharing right to one of my colleague, Mohit? Mohit, can you share? Okay, fine. So whenever required, that so I don't have any PPT. So wherever required, he will share respective provision of the act or rules or maybe judgment at an appropriate. He will share for the users. Fine. So let us start from basic constitutional provision for taxes, which is Article 265. Each and every of us know that, but let us remind it. Let us recollect that. It says, no tax shall be collected. No tax shall be, let me rectify myself. No tax shall be levied or collected otherwise than by way of authority of law. This is very, very important. So there are two aspects. Number one, levy. Number two, collection. So neither levy can be there nor collection can be there otherwise than by way of authority of law. If the legal provisions are not there, or the given provision is not followed, in that particular case, levy fails and collection fails. I will concentrate on myself on collection on today because my topic is in relation to collection, because normally any taxation statutes can be divided into two parts. One is levy, second is collection. Levy is like in GST law, section 9 is there, charging section, section 7, what is supply, supporting provisions like what is input tax credit, how much input tax credit is available, valuation provisions, maybe place of supply, what, etc., etc. This all is what? Levy. Second is collection provision, where it starts from your self-assessment. Maybe scrutiny, maybe audit. These are the inquiry things. Then adjudication process, show cause notice. Then order, then appeals. All this is collection process. So I'm restricting myself to the collection on today, that no collection shall be made otherwise than by way of authority of law. If any collection process is otherwise than by way of law, then it is null and void. This is very important. I'll demonstrate you a couple of instances in GST laws which you can use in your filing of your appeals as on today. So when we are talking about collection, precisely whole of this collection exercise can be divided into three parts under the GST law. First of all, we need to identify these three as a separate one. Because what we have seen, people come on search and they insist to deposit the amount, that you deposit so much of the amount, they are having their own target. Can they do so? Can officers press anyone to do so? Answer is absolutely no. Absolutely no. Whether it is a scrutiny, audit by the department, audit by professional, inspection or search, please, or summon, please mind all these proceedings are the inquiry proceedings only. No demand has been crystallized till now. No demand has been crystallized. If you are facing any search, no demand has been made. It is inquiry. That means it is a fact-finding exercise or an information gathering exercise. That's it. Gravity will depend upon what kind of proceeding is that. Maybe scrutiny, a very simplified exercise. Maybe audit by department, a bit rigorous. Because in what happened in scrutiny, the officer will give you a notice and call you at your place, at their place. In audit, what's going to happen? They will give you a notice that we will come to you at a predefined date at a predefined time. What will happen in inspection and search? They'll come to your premises without informing you. So that's a surprise. So gravity will differ, but ultimately all these are information or fact gathering exercise. There is no order against you, and you can file appeal against the order only. If anyone is having a query in anyone's mind that can you file an appeal against the summon? No. Can you file an appeal against the show cause notice? No. Can you file an appeal against the pre-show cause notice, which is in DRC 01A? Answer is no. Can you file an appeal against an advisory notice? Like kind of many a time you will see that department gives a notice, okay, you have taken wrong input tax credit, etc., etc., or on the basis of firms who has not deposited, you please advise, you are being advised to pay this much of the amount. Can you file notice again, appeal against that? Answer is no. Because none of them is a order. No demand has been crystallized. Please mind it. The moment inquiry is over and the officers are of the opinion that either tax has not been paid, short paid, input tax credit has wrongly availed or utilized, or erroneous refund has been taken. In that case, they are supposed to start or initiate proceedings of the adjudication, which is a pre-show cause notice, show cause notice, and your personal hearing, and then passing of the order. Some other speaker will handle it. I'm not entering into. But please mind, that's an adjudication process. First inquiry. Then once inquiry is concluded, please mind, adjudication starts after inquiry is concluded. The moment you receive the show cause notice, after that, no inquiry. And once adjudication process is over, that means you have received the show cause notice, you responded it, PH happened, and then order is there. Now, it is a time when a person has to take a call whether he want to litigate or pay the taxes. Whether he want to litigate or want to pay the taxes. I'm sure each and every one of us sitting here joining this program are well aware of all these things, but you will have to critically analyze that order at that particular point on merits as well as on technical aspects. First, definitely merits. There is an allegation that you have taken in the wrong input tax credit. Now you check on merits, whether this claim is correct or not. Recently, what happened? Yesterday only I received a show cause notice whereby the department has issued a show cause notice that there is a stone crushing unit, and they have issued the show cause notice that following credits are wrongly taken, and all those credits are like some parts of the machines, some tools of the machines, office furniture, computer kind of things. They have issued the show cause notice for this. Now, can any of us, and by any stretch of imagination, we can think that the department is having any case on merits? I believe we all will agree that department doesn't have a case, so client has to file an appeal at this stage. Now, let me give you another example. What happens? So in first example, what I have given, that I'm sure you will give the advice that one should file an appeal. Now, second example, your client has received a notice whereby allegation is that that fellow has bought goods from the non-existent firm, which is a common notice nowadays. And show cause notice says you have bought the goods from A, B, C firms and they are non-existent. Now, when you discuss with your client says, I have bought it through a broker. I am having an invoice of that fellow. All those were registered. They are reflected in my GSTR 2A. And I have actually received the goods. Now, what's going to happen? Maybe department may have a call that no credit is allowed, something, because we could not find that fellow. But I'm sure that you guys will agree with me that this is on merits, this is a very good case to have. Fine. Let us have a third example. So in this scenario also, I will always advise to file an appeal. Let us have a third example. Now, what happened? A search was conducted at your premises of your client. A statement of your accountant of the client was recorded. I'm not saying under caution or by free will, whatever, I don't know, because I was not there at that point of time. But a statement was recorded of accountant of the client that there are clandestine removals are there. That means the client has sold some of their goods without raising an invoice. Kache mein bech diya. Now what happened? When you receive the show cause notice, you ask for the cross-examination of that statement. They have not provided the cross-examination and order is passed. Now I'm not entering into merits of the case that you will discuss with your client. But can merely on this technical reason, the department has not allowed the cross-examination, one should not file the appeal? In my opinion, 100%. Because of this sole reason, let me tell you, the case of the department is going to quash. Fourth example, which you will find a very, very commonly in the show cause notices or the order passed by the state level authorities. Similar case, similar example, search happened, or maybe some vehicle was stopped at somewhere, or maybe whatever kind of inquiry audit happened, etc., etc. Whatever has happened has happened. You have received a show cause notice. Show cause notice says that there is a clandestine removal on from your side. That's it. There is an allegation only. You responded to it that there is no clandestine removal. You have responded to the show cause notice that there is no clandestine removal. Each and every entry is documented. This is what our stock register. And you have not given any instances that which kind of goods or at what rate we have sold to and to whom. This is what reply is there to the show cause notice. Now department passes an order, and in order they write, your accountant given us these details. Please try to understand what I'm saying. Show cause notice was there, which gives a mere allegation that, okay, there is a 2 crore rupee of clandestine removal. When you given the reply, the department comes up with a response that this is what the detail of 2 crore, and the statement was given by your accountant or general manager, whosoever, but they give this detail in the order. Can department do so? Again, my answer is solely on this ground, the department has utilized some information which they have not covered in the show cause notice. Solely on this ground, this order is liable to be quashed. So appeal should be filed. So whatever I have given you some of the example that at what you will have to discuss. So in this case, in the fourth and third scenario, I have not discussed the merits, whether the tax payable or not, whether ITC was eligible or not. I have taken only and only technical ground, that they have utilized some material or information, or they have given some allegation which was not available to me in the show cause notice. So adjudicating authority cannot utilize it. So on all these bases, you will have to take a call whether you have to file an appeal or pay the demand. Please mind, for both purposes, you are having 3 months time. The moment you receive the order, the moment you receive the adjudication order, you are having 3 months either to file the appeal before the first appellate authority, or you go and pay the demand. Otherwise, there will be a recovery. Please mind, before that, recovery cannot be there. For this purposes, please refer section 78 read with 107. This is important. So 78 clearly says that the recovery proceeding can be initiated only after 3 months from the receipt of the order. Section 78 of the CGST Act. Now, so precisely 3 aspects what I was discussing is 3 limbs of any litigation process or maybe inquiry process, or whenever we are entering into all this collection mechanism. First is inquiry, second is adjudication, third is recovery. Or instead of recovery, there will be an appeal. First is inquiry, second is adjudication, and after adjudication, either payment of taxes, that means recovery, or appellate provisions. So this is what the 3 limbs we should be having a very clear thoughts on it. Coming to appellate mechanism. What is an appeal? What do we understand by the word this term appeal? Appeal hota kya hai? Precisely, if we go by the legal, this term is not defined anywhere. Please mind, this term is neither defined in this particular law, GST law, nor under General Clauses Act, nor under the taxing statute. This is what, as per my memory or whatever my knowledge, I have seen it. I have never seen a definition of the term appeal. But by the so many decisions, judgment, it has settled. Appeal means applying to a higher court to change the decision of the lower court. This is what an appeal. You have received an order from an authority or a court. You want that higher court should examine it, whether the order passed by the lower court is correct or not. The object of filing of the appeal is to reverse or quash the order which was appealed against. This is what the precise meaning of the term appeal. On this particular aspect, so many judgments, so many landmark judgments are there, including one of the celebrated judgment, Vidyacharan Shukla. But I think it is not needed to be discussed at this particular forum. If required, if any specific questions are there from any of the members, then I'll maybe deliberate a bit more on it. But otherwise, I think not more than it is required. Yes, one thing I think I escaped. One should be well aware with one fact. Whether the appeal is a statutory right or a vested constitutional right. Whether appeal is a statutory right or a constitutional right. This is always a debate. And why this debate is relevant, I'll tell you. Because see, whenever you are going to have a legal practice or a practice in litigation field, then a very big call. See, why I started from the writ example, let me tell you. Whenever you are handling these type of issues, and believe me, you are going to receive the cases like there are so many absurd demands are there. And for filing of the appeal, get ready with 30% of the taxes. Why I am saying 30% of the tax amount? Because in my humble opinion, with all due regards, my experience says first appellate authority is good for nothing. 99% cases, they ban for the revenue or maybe for some unethical means, which I don't deal, and I believe normally one should not deal with it. So I always say to my client, if we are going to file an appeal, get ready with 30% of the tax demand. And if the amount is extraordinary, high, some high-pitched demand has been made, then at times it may be difficult that he'll be having that kind of fund as well. So the person who is into this kind of practice, who wants to practice litigation aspects, one should be well aware that at what point of time appeal should be filed and at what point of time you should take a recourse of High Court. When you can take a recourse of High Court, I'll discuss also. I'll touch upon, not in great detail, but I'll touch upon so that one should be aware with it, that we have this alternate as well. Whenever we are not having, at least one of the objectives is obviously that pre-deposit amount is not there. Anyways, provisions, once again, Amitji, I'm taking a liberty that I'm not going to discuss each and every section or legal procedures. Maybe I just touch upon what form and how to do that. Is a very, very simple procedure. I'll try to address issues which a person faces while appeal and at the time of drafting, or maybe kind of grounds and what kind of things one should be well aware. I'll just touch upon the legal provisions. Section 107 is there for the first appellate authority. 107 for first appeal. Section 112 for second appeal, that is for tribunal which has not been constituted till now. So if we'll go to 107, मोहित जब भी सेक्शन बोलो तो उसको स्क्रीन पर ले आओ और उसको हटाओ मत, उसको स्क्रीन पर रखो उस पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन. लेट्स हैव अ सेक्शन 107 here. See, section 107 gives the right. As I discussed, it's not a constitutional right, it's a statutory right. I think I skipped one or two particular point. I asked a question whether it is a constitutional right or a statutory right. Appeal is always a statutory right. Please mind it. If any statute doesn't have a provision for the appeal, then you cannot file the appeal. If any statute, let us assume there was no section 107 in the GST law, then you cannot file the appeal. That order is final, open only and only for judicial review by the respective high courts. That's it. Judicial review can happen by the high courts, not by any other court. You cannot go into civil court. If let us assume there is a law says in the GST law, the order of the appellate authority to advance ruling is the final. There is no further appeal mechanism. In normal case, what happens? If the adjudication authority passes the appeal, passes the order, then you are having a first appeal before the commissioner appeal or maybe additional commissioner appeal, second appeal before the tribunal, then appeal of this will be before High Court and then Supreme Court. This is what I have explained is 90% correct, but there is some bifurcation which I'll take up at a later stage. So precisely you normally you are having a 4 forum other than in place of supply cases. First appeal, second appeal before tribunal, third High Court, and then Supreme Court. What happened in case of advance ruling? You file the advance ruling and then there is a appellate authority to advance ruling, chapter ends. Now what's going to happen as per GST law, that is a final order. But yes, judicial review by high courts are always open, but that is not an appeal. One will have to file writ. So wisdom and the jurisdiction of high courts are different when you file a writ and when you file an appeal. Need not to be discussed here. But one should be well aware about it that there is an opportunity or there is an way forward for it. Coming back to section 107. Precisely 107 says, if you have a first line, first word only, this I want to discuss with you. Any person aggrieved by any decision or order passed under this act by the so and so officer under this act or by the state law. So first question, or rather two questions are being answered by this particular provision, section 107 subsection 1. Number one, who can file an appeal? Any aggrieved person. Number two, against what appeal can be filed? Order of the adjudicating authority. Order of the adjudicating authority. That's it. These two things are there. Now, very important. What do you mean by person aggrieved? Think of it. Very important. Let me give you an example. Please try to brainstorm on it. The goods were being consigned from, let's say, Gujarat to Punjab. When the goods were passing through Rajasthan, on the way, the same were being intercepted. Department has made the case against the seller. That means Gujarat party. Now, what happened when the notice was given to the Gujarat party? He simply responded that, yes, I have supplied those material. I have supplied this material at FOR basis, on my factory basis. This is what the invoice, and I have received the payment through check, and I have nothing to do with these goods now. Owner of the goods is a buyer. Please try to appreciate this particular example. Let me repeat. Goods were moving from Gujarat to Punjab or Haryana. On the way, when it was passing through Rajasthan, Rajasthan authority intercepts it. They give a notice to the Gujarat authority Gujarat person, Gujarat consignor. He simply responded, I sold these goods. This is what invoice I sold on FOR basis. I have paid the taxes, or it is recorded in my regular books of accounts. I have received the payment through check. And since I have sold the goods on FOR basis, now the owner is buyer. Whatever you want to do, you do against him. I'm not the party. I'm not the concerned person. Despite that, the officer gives the notice and passes the order against the seller. Against the seller. You will appreciate it. सारा पैसा रिसीव करके बैठा उसको क्या लेना देना? वो कहेगा रखो माल जितनी मर्जी दिन अपने पास. You understand that? जितने मर्जी दिन आप माल अपने पास रखो. It is headache of the buyer. Actually, buyer has made the payment. Transporter may be third party. Maybe this is the vehicle of the buyer. In both the scenarios, it is ultimately sufferer is a buyer. Though the order has been passed against the consignor or the seller. Now, my specific question is, can buyer file an appeal against it? Now, you are having a notice, you are having an order with you, which is in the name of the Gujarat party, but you are a Punjab party. Can you file an appeal against that? Now, if I go by all legal means, terminology uses any person aggrieved. Please mind the word, it hasn't referred party aggrieved. It hasn't referred concerned taxpayer. It hasn't used the word noticee. It specifically used the word person aggrieved. And person is defined in the GST law to mean all these company, firm, etc., etc., etc. Aggrieved means the person who actually suffered the loss. If you can demonstrate that it is you who is suffering because of this particular order, in that case, yes, in my humble opinion, you can certainly file the appeal. There may be some hiccups while you are going to file the appeal, procedural hiccup, but that can be taken care. Maybe manual filing or otherwise, one can do all these stuff. Now the question comes, one more important, that each and every person who handles the service tax or the excise earlier must be well aware about the deemed stay. But I'm sure a couple of persons would be here who was dealing the VAT laws. The provisions with regard to stay was altogether different. Under the pre-GST regime, as far as state and union laws are concerned, the GST is inspired by the union laws. So one need not file any stay application as it was required under the VAT laws. Please mind. For filing of the appeal, you will have to pay the certain amount, which is referred in section 107, subsection 6. Mohit, you may come on subsection 6, which says that first of all, you will have to pay 100% of the admitted liability. 100% of the admitted liability. Let us say there was a order was passed and the appeal was, there was 3 points on which, there were 3 grounds on which demand was raised, A, B, C. A, you agree. B and C, you doesn't agree. So the demand in respect of ground A, you will have to pay in 100%. If you are not agitating the same in the appeal, if you are not contradicting the same in the appeal, then you will have to file demand against ground A in full. And as far as ground B and C are concerned, you will have to pay 10% of the tax amount. Let us assume the demand raised by the authority is like 100 rupees of the tax, 100 rupees is the penalty, and 50 rupees is the interest. 250 rupee total demand. then for filing of the appeal, you will have to pay 10 rupees. That means 10% of the 100 rupee tax payable of the disputed demand. So you will have to pay 10% amount as a pre-deposit. If we go to the simultaneous provision of the filing of the appeal before the tribunal, which is section 112 subsection 8. I'm just narrating. You keep on that provision itself, 107 and subsection 6 and 7. So simultaneous provision is there for the for the GST 80 appeal, which is you will have to deposit 20% additional. 20% additional for filing of the second appeal. That means if it goes in our example 100, 150, you will have to pay 20 extra. That means till the time total amount goes to 30 rupees for filing of the second appeal. Now there is an interesting provision which is there in section 107 subsection 7, which is there on your screen. It specifically says when you have paid this amount, this pre-deposit amount, no recovery shall be there. That means recovery shall be stayed of the balance amount. You have deposited 10 rupees, 240 rupees recovery shall be stayed. There is a deemed stay. You need not to file any stay application. You need not to furnish any bond, etc., etc., which was earlier required under the VAT laws. It is not required. Similarly, if you go to 112 subsection 9, it also says the same thing. That if you have deposited pre-deposit amount, then the remaining amount shall get stayed. Now here comes a very important aspect, because this is how the statute is written, that you deposit the pre-deposit amount, then the balance will be stayed. Please mind, they have not referred that appeal is filed. They are not referring to subsection 1. In case of first appeal, they are referring to 107 subsection 6. Simultaneously, in case of tribunal, Mohit, please come on section 112 subsection 8 and 9. So in case of tribunal, section 112 subsection 9 refers to pre-deposit, which is there under subsection 8. Yeah, sorry, this 9. Where the appellant has paid the amount as per subsection 8, the recovery proceeding for the balance amount shall be deemed to be stayed till the disposal of the appeal. So demand is stayed till disposal of the appeal on payment of the pre-deposit. And always, you know, pre-deposit comes first, then the appeal will be filed. Now let me address a particular peculiar situation which is coming for so many clients. Now what happened? We all know that the second appellate authority, that is tribunal, is not there. Since tribunal is not there, how would you file the appeal? It is not possible to file the appeal. The central government has issued a notification, or rather not notification, rather removal of difficulty order 9/2019, which says, dated 3rd December if I'm not wrong, which says that this due date, the period of the calculation of the 90 days for filing of the appeal before the tribunal, will get started from the date of receipt of the order, or the date when the constitution of tribunal has done, or the president steps into the tribunal. From there it is started. There it will start. Calculation of 90 days. So basically they have taken care of filing of the appellate right. That appellate right will not go. One can file the appeal, but that order is silent about recovery. Now, what officers are saying, since let us assume there is a case whereby order was passed, you have filed the first appeal and first appeal has been rejected by the authority. Now you want to file the appeal, but appeal you cannot file because tribunal is not there. Now what to do? The officers are saying, because first appeal is rejected, we are going to recover whole of the amount. We are going to recover whole of the demand. My submission here is, or rather my advice is, if you want to file an appeal to the second appellate authority, that is GST tribunal, then what you should do is you pay 20% of the pre-deposit amount, additional 20%, as required by section 112 subsection 8, and inform the officer that we have deposited the additional 20% of the amount as required by section 112 subsection 8, and appeal has not been filed for want of constitution of the tribunal. Now, as far as recovery is concerned, also mention that the deemed stay granted by section 112 subsection 9 is applicable on us. Because I have received a couple of recovery notices for whole of the amount after rejection of the first appeal. So we tried to convince the officers, and fortunately, as of now, I can say the officers are agreeing to it. At that, after looking at, in one of the cases, the whole of the recovery is being persuaded, for which I am before the Honorable High Court. So precisely speaking, please note the legal provision is, if you deposit the amount, then also demand will get stayed. It is nothing to do with the filing. So in case you receive these kind of things, then please make sure that this happens. So this is what are kind of, I would say, some legal provisions I wanted to discuss. I tried to discuss them, and just a minute, let me cover to some of the issues then. Yes, let us start from, I have noted down a couple of issues. If you want me to address on something else as well, so please post in your query box. I'll take it. I'll try to stop some minutes before the 6 o'clock. Then we'll take up those specific aspects, but what I think is important. Now, when we are on this part of stay, let us start from here itself. Pre-deposit. Question is, or the issue, can a registered person pay this so-called 10% or 20% pre-deposit amount by utilization of input tax credit? This is what a precise question. Now again, because see what happens, what the law is of one thing, how officers understand the law is another thing. And in this scenario, their experience matters. Their experience matters a lot. In pre-GST regime, under the central law, it was crystal clear that one can utilize input tax credit or the Senvet credit. In most of the VAT cases, because the state laws were different, but in most of the cases, whatever I have seen, that this pre-deposit amount used to be deposit only and only by cash, not by utilization of input tax credit. So this was the past experience, I would say. And in past, the things were crystal clear. Now, what is position under the GST law? Can you utilize the input tax credit legally? Now, see what happens. Let us first understand the statutory scheme. Probably then we will answer it. Till last year, everyone was under impression that since the provisions are similar to, I would say similar, not exactly same, to the central laws, so it will be allowed to utilize the input tax credit, and everyone was actually allowing the same, using the same. Mohit, please come to section 49 subsection 3. 49, come to section 49. See, section 49 is there, which tells us that what is, how our liabilities can be discharged. Precisely the relevant provisions are ये इससे just पिछला वाला. 49.3 talks about cash ledger, electronic cash ledger. 49 subsection 4 talks about credit ledger. Yes, this one. Subsection, come on, subsection 3. I hope it is visible to all. It is on the screen. Just one. So subsection 3 says there's a cash ledger may be used for making any payment towards tax, interest, penalty, fee, or any other amount payable under the provisions of this act or rules made therein in such manner and subject to such condition as may be prescribed. Number 1. If we go to subsection 4, it says that the amount available in the electronic credit ledger may be used for making any payment towards output tax under this act or rules made therein. Prima facie difference comes out. Prima facie, I would say. Cash ledger can be used for tax, interest, penalty. Credit ledger can be used for tax only, not for interest and penalty. This is what a prima facie view we can make it. And how much amount we are supposed to pay? 10% of the tax amount or additional 20% of the tax amount in case of ID8. This is what the statutory scheme. Now, if we check it more carefully, please have a look that 49.3 uses the word tax, whereas 49.4 uses the word output tax. This is one more difference. It is not only that interest and penalty is not there, that word in section 49.3 used is tax, whereas 49.4 talks about output tax. Fine. Now this output tax word is defined. Output tax word is defined in section 2, subsection 82, if I'm not wrong. Wait, please go at 2, subsection 82. So now what is output tax? It is tax on my outward supplies. That's important. Let me read it from the statute if it is not there. Just give me a minute. It says output tax in relation to taxable person means the tax chargeable under this act, on taxable supplies of goods or services or both made by him means taxable person, and excludes tax payable by him under the RCA. So they are talking about output taxes on outward supply, whatever tax was required to be charged. This is what output tax. Now, please also refer section 41. Section 41, which has been, there are some amendments. I'll discuss a bit, maybe after 3 or 4 minutes after this. Please read this section 41, subsection 2. Very important. 41.1 says provisional credit. 41 subsection 2 says the credit referred to in subsection 1. Subsection 1 is provisional credit. And if you link it to section 16, subsection 2, clause C, that is about the payment of the taxes by the vendor, by the supplier. It says till the time it is verified, it will be provisional. And this provisional credit shall be utilized only for payment of self-assessed output tax. Now link everything, all these 3 provisions. This is what has been done by the Honorable Odisha High Court. This is what I am explaining it to you. What they said is output tax is tax on your outward supplies. And this credit which you have taken in your electronic credit ledger can be utilized for your self-assessed output tax. Now, what is self-assessed? Self-assessed is section 59, the liability which you have declared in your returns. Fine. So let us take a case. There was a dealer who was claiming that his goods are chargeable at the rate of 5%, whereby department has made the case that your goods are charged, your correct rate is 18%. Correct rate is 18%. And they have created the demand for the difference, interest, penalty, etc. Fine. The question again, I'm popping up here. And question is whether input tax credit can be utilized for it. If we read barely these provisions, or what we read, let me tell you what Odisha High Court in case of Jyoti Construction read, the way they read it. Because in my humble opinion, there is only one judgment, detailed judgment, I would say. Now, recently we have a judgment from the Delhi High Court also. I will discuss that as well. So, Odisha High Court in the case of Jyoti Construction has read all these three provisions and said that output tax is a tax on your outward supplies, and you can utilize payment input tax credit for payment of your self-assessed output tax. That means आपने return में जो file किया है, and let us assume there is a turnover of 1 crore rupees. You have charged and paid the taxes of 5%. That means 5 lakh rupees. Department says 13 lakh rupees is the additional demand. So is it and you are filing an appeal against that 13 lakh rupees? You are filing the appeal against that 13 lakh rupees. Can you say that it is a self-assessed liability, self-assessed tax? Neither it is shown in your returns, nor you are accepting it. You are not accepting it. That's why only you are filing the appeal. Otherwise, there was no need to file the appeal. I hope all are following me. So in this case, an electronic credit ledger payment, which is there in section 49, subsection 3, can be used for payment of output tax, that to self-assessed output tax only. That is why Honorable Odisha High Court in case of Jyoti Construction has held last year that in case of pre-deposit, the same has to be paid by way of cash only. Input tax credit cannot be utilized. Now, on a very specific question, to best of my knowledge, there is only this judgment. Because you know there are plethora of cases are going on. I may miss something, except I'll discuss one High Court judgment from Delhi High Court recently, which came just 2 months ago. I'll discuss that as well. But barring that exception, I believe this is the only judgment. Now, please mind a provision. I'm making a caution for you. I'll tell you, in my humble opinion, and with all due regards to the Honorable Odisha High Court, the analysis made by the Honorable Odisha High Court was not correct. I'll explain that as well. But despite whatever I think, whatever anyone thinks, there is a judgment from the High Court. And you know very well, अगर एक adverse ruling केरला की या तमिलनाडु की या मिजोरम की भी आ गई ना, then in Rajasthan, in Haryana, in Punjab, in Delhi, they will follow like a Bible. So High Court to follow करना ही करना है. And despite that, we should be well aware with the judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court in case of Kusum Hingat, whereby they have specifically explained that in case if the parliament interpretation of the parliamentary law has been explained by any of the High Court, of the country, and there is no contrary judgment from any other High Courts, then that particular judgment is binding all over. Though this particular observation by the Honorable Court was with reference to some I would say jurisdiction under Article 226 clause 2, when they were discussing difference between clause 1 and clause 2. But despite that fact, there is this kind of observation is there. So believe me, when you are going to file, get advice to your client that get ready for the cash component as well. Because tomorrow there may be a situation that you utilize the credit, but the appeal will be in defect. Appeal may get rejected due to this reason because of a sitting High Court judgment. Now let us critically examine the provisions other way around. This is what has been, I have examined, I have explained you what Honorable Odisha High Court in case of Jyoti Construction has examined. Now my belief is you cannot read a particular provision in isolation. You have to read provision within for a scheme of law. Let us try to understand the scheme of the law. Just a minute. Okay, I think I'm taking more time on it. Maybe I'll try to wind up this particular issue in another 3 4 5 minutes. But this is very important, I believe, because so many times I have seen that the people have filed the appeal by utilization of input tax credit because system is allowing so without informing the client, which I think will be a very big issue between the client and the professional. So this is important to understand. First of all, why, in my humble opinion, input tax credit can be utilized. Number one, that all provisions of the law are supposed to be read in harmonization, in harmoniously for the scheme of the law. No provision can be read in isolation. Now, if we understand what happened under the GST law, there is a section 16 which makes us eligible for input tax credit. There are certain conditions. Mohit, if you can bring section 16. There are certain conditions. A, B, C, D. It was there as it was enacted earlier. Now some 2 are added. I'm talking about only third one, clause C, which says, subject to provisions of section 41, the credit shall be eligible when it is being paid by when the taxes are being paid. Clause C. This is what at the bottom. Subject to provisions of section 41, the tax charge in respect of such supply has been actually paid. This is what the condition. Now come on section 41. What is 41? This is what a provision. I would say this is what a condition. It is not in isolation that when the supplier will pay the taxes, then only I'll get the credit. No. Till that time also, I'll be eligible to have the credit. And this is what a section 41 subsection 1, which says, every registered person shall, subject to such condition and restriction as may be prescribed, be entitled to pay the credit of eligible input tax as self-assessed in his return, and such amount shall be credited on a provisional basis to his ECL. So now there is a scheme within the GST law that first of all, the credit will be given to you on a provisional basis. Then what will happen? We will match each and every invoice. Invoice level matching will be there, for which section 42 and section 43 are there. So first of all, there will be a match. There will be a claim on the basis of return, and then there will be a matching. And matching process as envisaged in section 42 and section 43 is of approximately 3 months. Is of approximately 3 months. If there is some mismatch, then 1A would be there, and then etc. etc. Then communication to both the parties will be there, etc. etc. So, but within 3 months, the credit will be finalized. If there is some gap, either supplier will pay or otherwise it will be added to the output liability of the recipient. That's it. Within 3 months, matching will be over. This is what the statutory scheme. And we all know that section 42 and section 43 never saw the light of sun. Kabhi picture mein nahi. Say barring first 2 months GST, in first 2 months GSTR2, some of the GSTR2 were filed. but government actually withdrawn that. Or if I talk in legal terms, government issued the notification whereby they have declared that we will tell you the filing date of GSTR 2 and 3 at a later stage. And finally, they were withdrawn, and now in this budget, or rather I would say in this Finance Act 2022, these section 42 and 43 are being replaced. So basically, if we talk about this whole scheme, at that point of time, initially the credit was provision, and then it was supposed to be finalized on matching after the matching is being done. Now, practically, there is no matching. So can we say that matching is not there due to fault of the government, and still all our credits are provisional? My answer is no. My answer is no. All credits, whatever we have taken, are valid. Now, this is what first point. What I was saying, that my humble opinion is a bit different than what was expressed by the Honorable High Court. Coming to second aspect, second ground. Please mind, in this through this Finance Act 2022, though the date is yet to be notified, this section 41 has been completely substituted. Section 41 is completely substituted, whereby the new section 41, which has been incorporated now, doesn't have the provision like 41 subsection 2, it is there. So now even the legal provision has also changed. The basis on which the Odisha High Court placed this judgment, the basis is gone. Even I would humbly say that Honorable High Court could not examine whole of the scheme, even otherwise. Now section 41 to subsection 2 has been substituted, removed, I would say. 41 subsection 2 is removed. It is not there in the new scheme. Intentionally or unintentionally, I don't know. But specifically, the provision akin to section 41 subsection 2 is not there in the new section. Meaning thereby, we can safely say that after this amendment, that court order goes other way. So with this, this is what my view on this particular aspect, that free deposit ultimately legally can be utilized from the ITC. System allows as on date, though there is a judgment from the Odisha High Court, you should have all precautions advised to the, at least informed to the client. Now, yes, there was a recent Delhi High Court judgment. What happened in that case? Let me tell you. And that is very actually helpful. See, what happened, a person was arrested and there was a demand of approximately 2 crore something demand was there. Now what happened, when the bail was granted to that fellow, it was granted by Sessions Court, and Session Court has made a condition. Session Court made a condition to the bail that you will deposit somewhere 2 crore something amount you will pay. 2 crore 60 lakh something, whatever amount was there, but something 2 crore something amount was supposed to be paid by him. This was the condition to the bail. What happened? What that fellow did, he was having some 1 crore odd rupees in his electronic credit ledger. He utilized that. And rest of the 1 crore something amount was paid through cash. And you can say approximately 50% amount was paid from electronic credit ledger, 50% amount was paid through electronic cash ledger. Now what happened? Department approached to the court for cancellation of the bail for violation of the condition. They have went to the Sessions Court that there is a violation of the condition by the so and so person, and accordingly the bail should be rejected. What happened? The court actually rejected the bail. They said, we told you to deposit this much of the amount, whereby you have deposited 1 crore something, that is why bail is rejected. This is what has happened. Now that fellow has approached to High Court, Honorable Delhi High Court, and shown this particular provision 49 subsection 4 that I can pay my taxes by utilization of electronic credit ledger as well. Here in this case, the Honorable Delhi High Court has specifically decided that yes, the payment of the taxes can be made by way of cash ledger as well as credit ledger. That is why they have rejected the order passed by the cancellation order passed by the Sessions Court. So that means bail continued. So this one we can utilize whenever required as well. But though this has not discussed and described in great detail, just like a Jyoti construction, but still it is important. So stay, I have discussed two issues, stay related and pre-deposit. Now, one important aspect, condonation of delay. We all know that the statutory time frame provides us 30 days, 45 days time period for condonation of the delay. That means if there is some genuine reasons, the appellate authority or the tribunal can condone the delay. I will like to have a word of caution here only. That's it, nothing else. In late 2020, in case of New India Insurance, the constitutional bench of the Honorable Supreme Court, constitutional bench has specifically hold that the condonation can be done only and only within the provided time frame. That's it. Earlier, the difference were the judgments were on a different footing. So please be very, very careful that you are supposed to file within 90 days. Please file it within 90 days. And condonation, if required, will be available only and only within the statutory time frame. That's it. If you come to me, maybe after 6 months of the passing of the order, sorry, time gone. You cannot file the appeal. Let me repeat that. It is a statutory remedy. That's very important. Why at the initial stage I have discussed with you. Is it a constitutional right, vested right, fundamental right, or a statutory right? It is not a fundamental right. It is a statutory right. And a statutory right has to be availed within framework of law only. And please mind, it will be very, very difficult for the high courts even to condone this delay after there is this judgment of the Honorable Constitutional Bench, which came in late 2020. And believe me, this is going to be implemented now. Because what happened, the time limit of the suo motu petition number 3/2020, which was the order which was passed under Article 142 read with 141 by the Supreme Court, has expired 3 days ago. So till this time, the condonation order was effectively not operative. Because the COVID order was there, COVID overall protection order was there, that if there is a delay, it will not be treated. That means time limit was extended for filing of all type of appeal and other litigation issues. It was effectively ended on 3 days ago only, that is 28th February plus 90 days, 2022. So now be very, very careful. File all your appeals within time. Don't expect that you can get a condonation from the authority or even from the court. So time limit is very, very important. Now, let me come to how when you receive the orders. What you should do on a very, very practical note. I'm just taking till now I was just taking some issues which are still I have noted down a couple of issues which I wanted to discuss, but since the time is already 5:30, so I'm taking a bit departure and coming on some practical aspect which may be faced by maybe our younger members, new friends, colleagues. So I'm just taking on them at par with me, that how you start preparing appellate proceedings. How, the moment you receive the order, first of all, my advice is, and how I do, I'm telling you. First of all, keep and get ready all the relevant documents. What is relevant document? You start from order, which is to be appealed, show cause notice, DRC 01, which is pre-show cause notice, DRC 01A, all relying upon document. All relying upon documents, get ready with you. All inquiry notices and replies to the inquiry notices, whatever given by the client, replies to inquiry notices, to show cause notices. Preliminary objections, if you have filed before the adjudicating authority, and any reply of them. Make handy all these documents. Then, this is what one set of document which you need, which will give you all the factual information. Now, to study on the merits, first of all, whatever is the issue, then relevant provision. What is the relevant provision for that? Maybe section, rule, notification, whatever it is, order. Maybe circulars, FAQs, flyer, old education guide which was issued under the service tax law. Refer all of them. Refer all of them. If you find useful, then use it. I'm repeating it. Circular, FAQs, flyers, that industry specific flyers, education guide under the erstwhile law. If you find it useful, these documents, then utilize it. If you are not finding it useful, no need to use them. You are supposed to counter if it is there in the order. Not otherwise, you are not supposed to counter also. Then judgments, obviously, which are pronounced by the different high courts, will be useful. Couple of very handy judgments are there in the GST from the Supreme Court, if that is useful anyhow. But more important, AR I will not suggest to use. Then judgments in the pre-GST era on that particular issue. This is what very relevant, because in GST era you might not find the relevant judgment because it's a nascent stage. Not that much judgments are available actually from the high courts. So judgments of the maybe system, tribunal level, high court, Supreme Court of the pre-GST regime will definitely be useful for making and preparing your case. Whenever you file an appeal, please mind, all the appeals are having three set of standard, I would say, three sets of records, I will say boxes you can say, or categorization within the, first of all, it will be memo of appeal, whatever the statutory form is there. Then it will be a statement of fact, then grounds of appeal, then prayers. These are, there will be a three distinction specifications. Let's just quickly discuss one by one all what we should mention in the statement of fact, what we should be, how grounds of appeal should be made, what kind of prayer should be there. See, fact means, first of all, I'm taking a statement of fact. Fact is something which is true and real. There should not be much room for discussion or debate. That is what fact. what happened, I have many a time I have seen whenever I receive cases, people write their arguments also in the statement of facts. That learned assessing authority did this is wrong. They have erroneously taken presumption and this and that. No, in my humble opinion, the way I work is, I'm just suggesting what I do. I don't know. If you want to take it, you can buy that. So, see, my humble opinion is, when we are writing fact, it should be very clearly spelled out and true and real. If there is something room for negotiation, it should go into your grounds of appeal. Assessee is doing this, he has filed this return, he has received this notice, he responded on this date, he received this summon, he have been searched on that day, search started at this point, at concluded this point, etc., etc. These things, there is no doubt about it. One should not write it like an argument. And most important aspect, please don't hide anything. Anything means any material things which is having any bearing on the case, don't hide it, even if it is negative. Even prima facie, you are thinking that, okay, mentioning this fact will be irrelevant. Believe me, the other party will bring that fact. So don't hide from the appellate authority or the court anything. Otherwise, your appeal or maybe petition may be rejected only on this ground that you hided the material from the respective authority or the court. This is what the basic principle. You should come before the appellate authority or the court with all clean hands. Clearly mention what is the allegation made by the authority under the show cause notice. One important aspect. If you have asked for the cross examination and they have not provided, please do mention it. Do mention it. Always refer. Always one thing should, I do this. Whenever you are narrating a fact, normally what happens in most of the cases, the taxpayers are compliant. Most of the time, they file their returns on time. They pay their taxes before filing of the return as well. Maybe if there are some minor delays in filing of the return, obviously late fees has been paid. So always write that client is a bona fide taxpayer, always pays his taxes regularly, files his returns. Always mention this fact. Obviously, if it is true. If it is the case other way around, then you may skip it, otherwise mention it. So this is what statement of facts, clearly spelling out all the aspects. Then grounds. This is what the most important point, or I would say backbone of all of your appeal. Here your legal knowledge gets tested. I cannot tell you what kind of ground is you are supposed to take, but we can have one or two examples. What kind of ground is to be taken? Let us take a very, very common notices or the adjudication order which are being happened nowadays. Let us assume a dealer is there who has not filed the return, let's say for 4 or 5 months. Quite common. Department started inquiry by any means, scrutiny, audit, and search, someone, inspection, whatever the mode is. And finally, they issued a show cause notice to him. Order is passed. You have already responded to the notices. You have, by best of your ability, you have already responded to it. Now, what happened? They have issued the notice under section 74, saying that since you have not filed return for a couple of months in between. After that, you have already filed. Let us say for 5 months continuous period, you have not filed the return. After that, you filed, but inquiry started after that only. Department has issued the notice under section 74. Allegation is that you have not made payment of taxes. You have not made payment of taxes deliberately. And this is since you have not filed the return in time, there is a suppression of it. So 74, the show cause notice under section 74. Simultaneously, there is another allegation that input tax credit, again the same, that supplier was non-existent kind of thing. And they have levied a penalty under section 122. This is, you will receive notice, either you must have received by now, or otherwise you will, in times to come, in a couple of months, you will receive these kind of notices. The persons who has not filed return for a couple of months, the department is started levying penalty under section 122, which says if you have not filed, if you have not made payment of taxes for 3 months or more, then the penalty should be levied. Penalty will be levied. This is clause 3, 122(1)(3), where a taxable person who collects any amount as tax but has failed to pay the same to the government beyond a period of 3 months from the date on which such payment becomes due. So precisely they are linking it with filing of the return is the payment of the taxes is being made through the return only. So you have not filed the return for 4 or 5 months. That is why section 122(1)(3) gets attracted. So that is why they have issued the show cause notice, and then order has been passed. What possible grounds can be there? Definitely your client would be giving you the reason why the return could not be filed. This is what you are going to mention, that this is what the genuine reason, bona fideness, why the return could not be filed in time. Number 1. But most important by these aspects only, can we say the department was right in issuing me the notice under section 74? This is what second ground. My point is, I'll come to the most important ground at a later stage, at the third ground, but will be the most important. First, genuine reason. Second, 74 applies only and only when there is a fraud, willful misstatement, or suppression of the fact to evade the taxes. When before initiating inquiry by the department, I have already filed the return, meaning thereby as per them also I have paid the taxes. Then how come one can say there is a suppression or misstatement to evade the tax? I have already paid the taxes. So 74 on this ground itself cannot be. Now, most important aspect, can for these type of cases 74 at all be issued? Even if hypothetically assuming, though I will not at any cost agree to it, let us assume department saying suppression, let us assume that. Can then be also 74 be issued to it? My humble answer is absolutely no. Wait, please open section 46. 46 or 44, I'm getting confused. 46. This one. 46. Please read this carefully. What this section says: where a registered person fails to furnish a return in section 39 of section 44. What is 39? Your GST or 3B, by which the payment of taxes are being made. A notice shall, please mind the word shall. A notice shall be issued requiring him to furnish such return within 15 days in such form and manner as may be prescribed. And then the rule says there will be a notice in form GSTR 3A. If some person doesn't file the return, then it is due, then the officers are duty bound, then the department is duty bound to issue me a notice in form GST 2A and ask me to file the return within 15 days. Whether department did so. Can you tell me how many 3A you received? If your 3B is not filed, it is duty of the department to issue 3A. I agree my client failed in filing of 3B, but your officer also failed in issuing the 3A. Now come to section 62. Very important. This will give you a very good ground to counter the case of the department. Now what 62 says? Assessment of non-filers. It starts with a non-obstante clause to section 73 and 74. Whatever stated in section 73, 74, that is overrided, not to be considered. Where a registered person fails to furnish the return in section so and so, the proper officer may proceed to assess the tax liability of the said person to the best of his judgment, taking into account all relevant material which is available or which he has gathered by so and so, this is and this and this. Means 74 cannot be issued for it. Section 62 supersedes section 74. That means if there is a non-filer, then the assessment has to be done on the basis of section 62, not 74. Now let me tell you what is difference, because someone may argue, someone may think that what is the difference if someone assesses in 62 or someone assesses in 74, hardly matters. It is ultimately it is officer is going to compute it. Someone may think of it, but please mind there is a great difference between 62 and 74. What is that difference? That 62 gives me another opportunity to file my return after even adjudication happens. Please read section 62 subsection 2. Where the registered person furnishes a valid return within 30 days of the service of the assessment order, the said assessment order shall be deemed to have been withdrawn, but the liability for payment of interest so and so will be there. Meaning thereby, if there is a non-filer, law says that you please first give me notice in form 3A. If I'm not responding, then assess under section 62. And once the assessment order is there, I'll be having another opportunity to file a return, and then that assessment order gets cancelled. This kind of facility or the provisions are not there in 74. Order once passed is passed. So there is a great difference between assessment under section 62 vis-a-vis assessment under section 74. So now ground in my case, the which I said, whatever be the merits of your case, whether weak or hard, the ground would be that procedure prescribed by the law has not been followed by the authority. And if it is done so, the whole of the proceedings will be null and void. Please come back from where I started. Article 265 of the Constitution of India. Relevant portion for us. No tax shall be collected otherwise than by way of authority of law. In my case, the authority of law says in case of non-filer, you will have to issue 3A, then assessment order under section 62, which procedure has not been followed. That is why whole of the proceedings, whatever has been done by the department, is void ab initio. So friends, this is the ground will be self-sustainable ground. Anyways, come back. Let's come back to another aspect. Whenever you are writing, always write judicial precedents, always refer judicial precedents which are in your which are of your favor. But one thing I should bring to the notice of my friends, that please mind, the binding part of the judgment is ratio in light of the factual situation, not only ratio. Ratio on a specific factual situation. So my humble advice to each and everyone sitting here as my friend, please don't refer any judgment by referring only and only one para. Please read the judgment carefully and complete judgment carefully. It may happen that you are citing a particular judgment and it may bounce back to you. Please read the judgment carefully, check it, and be aware with your counter judgments which the department is going to come up with them, and get ready for them. Many a time it happens, the department comes up with some judgment and we utilize the very same judgment. Recently, I was arguing last week only, I was before the Honorable Rajasthan High Court. I used a judgment which was negative to me. I used a judgment which was actually the conclusion was negative to me, but the ratio was favoring my. So I used that. So you should not go by only the conclusion that it is in favor or against. If you want to see this particular lively, then please refer this recent judgment of Mohit Minerals, which came a couple of days ago from the Honorable Supreme Court. Everyone is happy that Ocean Freight is gone. But please mind that judgment is giving so much favor to the revenue. So many things were there, which is, I would say, now settled in favor of the government by that judgment. So many things were settled in favor of the government, but actually end result was in favor of the assessee due to provisions of composite supply concept. Otherwise, I would say maximum thing was in favor of the government. So it is important what you are going to use from the judgment ratio in light of the factual situation. Then only it is binding, not otherwise. Quickly, I am sharing it with you some of the other aspect which one should be kept in mind. I always keep saying. Burden of taxability. Normally what happens, you will agree with me that officers ask the taxpayer, why this receipt should not be taxable? Why this receipt, why this transaction should not be taxable or activity? Please mind, burden to prove that this activity or transaction is taxable lies on the shoulder of department, not assessee. First, department has to tell this is taxable for this reason, not otherwise. Not otherwise. This is not responsible. Burden to proof is not on assessee to show that it is not taxable. It is on the department. Once department demonstrates that it is taxable, then onus to prove shifts on taxpayer to show that whatever they have shown is wrong. Please mind my word. I have carefully used the word burden to prove and onus to prove. Because burden to prove, जिसके ऊपर कास्ट है उसी के ऊपर रहता है. It never shifts. It never shifts. That means first and prima facie, department has to prove that this receipt is a taxable one, which I normally see the order misses, notices misses. So, please mind, don't apply this analogy to the input tax credit provision. It is other way around. In case of input tax credit, burden to prove, first burden to prove is on the taxpayer to prove that input tax credit is eligible. Due to paucity of time, I am not entering into the relevant judgments and the analogies. If you want, someone may refer KP Varghese from the Honorable Supreme Court's excellent judgment. Coming to the another aspect which are just coming in my mind, I'm just trying. Sir, if you allow, can I take 5-7 minutes more?
Yes, sir.
So I'm scheduled other way around after 6.
No issue, sir.
No issue, sir. Go ahead, please.
I will not describe or detail, but I'm giving you quick pointer which you may utilize. I'll try to substantiate with some of the judgments. And Mohit, please keep ready with some of the judgment folder. If required, please display on the screen. What I have seen, more specifically in case of state officers, central are in this particular is fine. You must have heard one Latin phrase, nemo judix in causa sua. That means prosecutor cannot be the judge. That means a person who has made the inquiry, who has made the case, cannot be judge in his own case. This squarely applies on the tax laws. Please mind. Supreme Court judgment in case of Ashok Kumar Yadav. Whereby Honorable Supreme Court has, in very, very crystal clear terms, had said these principles of natural justice will not only apply on courts or tribunals, it applies to each and every authority who takes decision as a quasi-judicial function as well. 4 SCC 417, it is on your screen, you can note down. And that's very, very important one. So whenever you see that search is made by that fellow, ex-officer, or investigation is done by them, show cause notice issued by them, and adjudication order passed by them, please raise this objection. Please raise this point in your appeal, that this is violation of the principles of natural justice, that here in this case prosecutor has been made the judge. Isko agar main thoda other way, if I am going to explain it you other way around on a lighter manner, let us say police arrest someone for a murder case, they inquire it, they investigate it, they prepare a charge sheet. What happens? They present the charge sheet before the court. You can compare this charge sheet as a show cause notice. So basically they have made the inquiry, they have made the charge sheet, that means they have made the case. And now court is going to decide. Court means the adjudicating officer is going to decide it. If in our tax laws, the same officer is going to decide the case, who has issued the show cause notice, who has conducted the inquiry, that means ultimately in the similar case, that means police officer is declaring the sentence. It is just like that. So the very same officer cannot adjudicate the case who has made the case or conducted the inquiry. Nemo judix in causa sua is a classic case, is a classic Latin phrase. Prosecutor cannot be the judge. Second, let me come to the issue of circulars. This is a very, very common thing which with reference to the circulars, the things are coming. What is a circular? Please mind, whenever we go through with it, we normally doesn't refer to the circular because circular is actually not the law. If I use the wordings of Honorable Supreme Court in case of Bengal Iron, what has been iterated by the court, specifically they have said circular is nothing more than an understanding or opinion of the government. With para 18 ke upar aana, para 18. Bengal Iron, very celebrated judge in Supreme Court. They specifically says, read it, very, very important para. This para 18, this one. See, that's very important. So far as clarification or circulars issued by the central government or state government, please mind they are talking about government directly, not even a board. Just like we are having CBC. So far as clarification or circular issued by the government or state or central government are concerned, They represent merely their understanding of the statutory provision. It is just an understanding of them. It is not the law. If I put it this way, they are not binding upon the courts. It is true that those clarification circulars were communicated to the concerned dealer, but even so, nothing prevents the state from recovering the tax if it is in truth the such tax was leviable according to the law. There can be no estoppel against the law. The understanding of the government, whether in favor or against the assessee, is nothing more than its understanding and opinion. So, circular is nothing more than an understanding. It is not a law. Please keep it in mind. I want to press it again and again, because normally I see the persons or my friends, they emphasize and they bank upon on these circulars. Circular is not more than an understanding. This is what basic fundamental. Now let me deliberate on circulars, other aspects of the circular and clarifications. This is what I told you about. The circular doesn't have any authority. Even then, circular officers means adjudicating officer I am talking about. I am not saying appellate authorities. These assessing officers or the administrative circulars are binding. Now you go to the another judgment, Anjum MH Ghaswala. Mohit, open that, para 32. See, please mind, you will see so many times, so many clarification has come. This press release, that guidance note, etc., etc. These are being issued by the different authorities. Even assume, since it is applicable on the authorities, it is not applicable on me, but at times client also don't want to go by that. Hypothetically assuming that the circulars are binding, though, so please mind, circulars which are issued under the relevant provision or authority of the law are only valid, not otherwise. Any document issued is not relevant. Only and only circular which are issued to the authority under the statutory provision is relevant. This is the case under the income tax law. Please read this para 32. This is very important. It says, learned senior counsel appearing for some respondent reading this issued by the board. Circular press release issued on so and so date by the board. This has been relied by the counsel in support of the contention raised on behalf of the respondent. It is true that by this press release, the board had interpreted the provisions of the act in a particular manner. Be that as it may, we would like to make it clear that every clarification note or press release issued by the board doesn't have a statutory force like the circulars issued by the board under section 119 of the act. It is only those circular issued by the board under the statutory, under the provisions of section 119 of the act will have a statutory force and will be binding on every income tax authority. Therefore, the press release relied by Mr. Murthy, not being a circular issued under section 119 of the act, will not be of any assistance to the respondent in support of their contentions. Meaning thereby, only the circular issued, just like circulars under section 119 income tax act, we are having a pari materia provision under section 168 of the GST law. So circular issued under section 168 are only valid, not otherwise. None of them are binding. When the circular number was issued till 138, if I'm not wrong, 138 or 140, I just tried to make a list that which of the circular is issued under section 168 or which are otherwise. Believe me, it was 50%. 50% circular were issued under section 168 and 50% otherwise. Even the circular. Forget about leave this press release and extra other documents, other clarification, routine clarification which comes. So that's another important. Lastly, even assuming that this is valid. So now what happened? Remember, I have given you one example of entry 23A, infrastructure industry, which the notification with effect from 13th October 2017 says annuities for access to road is exempted. On 17 June 2020, department came up with a circular that says no annuity for construction are not exempted. In that case, I must suggest to utilize the wonderful judgment of the Suchitra components, again from the Supreme Court, which says assessee has a right, if there is any circular which is against the assessee, which is against the assessee, In that case, assessee has right to get it enforced prospectively, not other way around. This is the worst case scenario I am arguing. Now the department is making demand for all the previous year because it is as per them it is a clarification issue. वो थोड़ा सा ऊपर आना, बहुत छोटा सा judgment है, only one page of judgment is there. Mysore Electrical को refer करते हुए, they have, if you write these last two lines, para 2. In the said judgment, this court held that beneficial circular has to be applied retrospectively, while oppressive circular has to be applied prospectively. Thus, when the circular is against the assessee, they have right to claim enforcement of the same prospectively. Suchitra Components, 2007 ka judgment, if I am not wrong, from the Honorable Supreme Court. So, please be careful about all these facts whenever the judgment or the things are referred on the basis of the circular. Do take all these aspects into your grounds that these things has been considered. One thing which I wanted to take up, but for paucity of time, I am leaving, just introducing this. Department is not taking this pre-show cause notice seriously. Please refer Rule 142 1A and 2A. In my humble opinion, it is mandatory to issue a pre-show cause notice. 142, Mohit, not 141. Rule 142. Department is not taking them seriously. Whereas already they have seen that in the service tax law, there all the demands without show cause notice has already been quashed. Most of them, I would say. Starting from MBDS India, back office IT solutions, so many judgments are there that if the show cause notices are not there, demands are quashed. And same is going to happen in this regime as well. Please read this 1A, which is there at bottom of this screen. This provision was introduced, this clause was introduced 1A and 2A in late 2019. The proper officer shall, before service of the notice of the person charged, that they will give a pre-show cause notice. This is 142 1A. Fine. But I think, Mohit, you are using the old form, old basically rule. Now this particular rule has also been amended. Now this word shall has been replaced by may. Why I want to point it out here is, before all you, that despite this fact that now this shall has been mentioned as may, in my humble opinion, it is very much necessarily required. I'm not going to enter into great detail. The only difference which shall or may make is may is a discretionary, shall is mandatory. So discretion has to be exercised in a judicious manner. There has to be reason why this pre-show cause is not issued, and it has to be recorded on file, which you will find in no case. So that is why I am saying use this as a tool for your cases as well, because ultimately when you are going to file an appeal, ultimately you want to win the case. Chapter ends on merits or on technical grounds hardly matters. So Amit ji, this topic is like we can speak for any number of hours, but already I have already crossed my time limits. So I'll conclude from my side from here. If any questions are there, quickly we can take up in maybe within 5 minutes time, because I have some other things planned.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
To take few questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a wonderful session.
Thanks to you for giving me this opportunity
Thank you,
to
sir.
interact with you all.
Thank you,
Sorry,
sir.
nowadays I'm actually I'm honestly speaking, I'm not getting time to prepare the PPTs, etc. So I tried just whatever is there in my mind, I'm trying to speak from my side. That's it.
Very
So
knowledge.
the PPTs are there,
Thank
then
you, sir.
obviously it is useful for the participant. That my apology that I could not make that due to paucity of time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sparing some time from your busy schedule. And I am also thankful to CN Nihal Chand Jain, sir, for joining today's VCM.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. And we have some questions in chat box. I'll ask one by one. Priya asked name of Delhi High Court case.
आपका थोड़ा सा वॉइस क्लियर नहीं आ रहा है.
Sir, I was asking that Priya asked in chat box that what was the name of Delhi High Court case?
Which one? MEDS.
Priya, can you
Which
make
topic
it?
you are talking about? If you are talking about pre-SCN, which I discussed, that is a MEDS India Limited. It was 8th May 2019, if I'm not wrong. Maybe date 2 days time I. But
It's pre-deposit ITC, sir.
After that, the back office IT solution came from the Delhi High Court again.
Moving ahead, Vijay sir asked DRC 07 is appealable or not?
Sir, voice.
Sir, give me a second. Give me a second. Am I audible now?
Slightly better. Go ahead.
Sir, Vijay sir was asking, DRC 07 is appealable or not?
DRC 07 is the order, na?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is obviously appealable.
And Tapan also asked whether order for rejection of application for registration is appealable, and what are the other remedies available to us?
Yes. I missed a very important point, which I thought I will discuss it with you guys. I missed it. Let me take 1 more minute.
Sure, sir.
Because that's a very important aspect. One should be careful. At the inception, I said, I'll tell you that where you can think upon directly going to the High Court, in what are the appropriate cases you can directly approach High Court. Instead of struggling with these authorities, because ultimately you are going to spare so much longer time. And apart from the time, pre-deposit is one of the main considerations. At times you don't have the money. See, general provision, general legal principles are absolutely clear that if there is a statutory remedy, you are supposed to avail that remedy. Fine. This is what a general preposition. Now, what happened? First of all, this is a debatable aspect when whether the show cause giving writ against the show cause notice will be directly can be filed, because some judges think that there is no remedy, because ultimately when show cause notice is issued, you are going to respond to the very same authority. So it is actually not remedy. Remedy means you are going to some upper forum like this. Some judges think it this way, some judges think it other way. That okay, you explain to them to that authority. But once order is passed, we know that there is a statutory remedy available. Now there is a very famous judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court in case of Whirlpool Corporation India, Whirlpool Corporation Limited, 1998 SCC, page 1, if I'm not wrong. That explains in which cases you can directly approach to a High Court. Precisely, that gives us 4 cases where you can directly go to the High Court and ignoring the statutory remedy. Number 1, principles of natural justice are not followed. Number 2, fundamental rights are violated. Number 3, jurisdiction issues are there. Number 4, challenge to any particular legal provisions are there. In all these 4 cases, you can go directly to the High Court. And let me tell you, as per my experience, one way or another, whatever order I have seen till now, whatever notices I have seen till now in the GST, each and every one is having issue of either of them, either of the 4. This is what I am telling you from my experience. And you may consider having look at 1 or 2 another judgment which are in relation to jurisdiction, because I believe jurisdiction issues are there in each and every notice, in each and every summon, in each and every show cause notice orders in GST. On the ground of jurisdiction, if there is an issue of jurisdiction, first of all, Honorable Supreme Court is crystal clear and says in case of Sarup Singh versus Union of India, clear cut, that issues of jurisdiction can be taken up at any stage. Any stage. Please refer para 20 and 21 of the judgment, Sarup Singh versus Union of India. Very important. Clearly in crystal clear terms, this is not even disputable. This is what wrote by the Supreme Court. Jurisdiction issues can be taken up at any stage. Number 2, which case is this? Mohit, Sarup Singh. Okay, fine. So para 20 or 21, one miss. Leave this, Mohit. No need to share now. The time is there's no time. Then one more judgment is there, which is very important one. Dr. Srimati Kuntesh Gupta. That is 1987 for SCC. Again from the Supreme Court, whereby iterating the same aspect, they have also said that High Court should not deny exercising their jurisdiction under Article 226 while issue of jurisdiction is involved. Meaning thereby, if these four kind of issues are there, for example, you have not received the notice. This is violation of principle of natural justice. You have not received the adequate opportunity. This adequate opportunity is a very big term, I would say. The notices which you see are normally doesn't give a proper opportunity. Today, I don't have that kind of session. If I'm sure the speaker who will be handling the replies to show cause notice would deal this aspect. So if you have not received the proper opportunity, that is also violation of principles of natural justice. If prosecutor is the judge, that is also violation of the principles of natural justice, which is called as doctrine of biasness. If jurisdiction is not there and if the circular is, if the legal provisions are under challenge, जैसे कि हमने बात किया, circular is under challenge, some rule is under challenge, then there is no point in going before the appellate authorities, because they doesn't have a right to overrule any rule or act provisions of the act or the circular. They have to abide by that. They are authorities constituted under the law. How come they can say that law is wrong? That is why I'm saying these four are the crystal clear points on which a person can directly consider going to the High Court, depending upon obviously of the facts of the cases. With this, I think I once again conclude. I just skipped this important aspect. That's why I just taken charge once again for a short time. Done, sir?
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question from Vijay, sir. Is it mandatory to issue pre-show cause notice?
I explained it. In my humble opinion, yes, it is mandatory. If the show cause notice is not issued, then if the pre-show cause is not issued, then officers who is issuing show cause notice should record the reason why he is not issuing the pre-show cause notice. I'm saying this way it is mandatory. Before 2020 amendment, it was mandatory. After 2020 amendment, either show cause should be there or reasons has to be recorded in writing that why this is not there. And you will agree with me that this kind of reasons will not be recorded by any officer till now. So in that way, it is mandatory.
Okay, sir. One more question. Does chartered accountant has any role to
conclude
play?
It, maybe last.
Okay. Does chartered accountant has any role to play when writ is filed in High Court, or only lawyer can fight the case?
See, arguments are to be done by the lawyer only, by practicing advocate only. But definitely, I must say that the CA has a very important. See, both things are equally important. Number one, legal position. Number two, facts of the case. So first of all, facts are always is in 100% grip of the person who dealt the case at the bottom level before the lower courts. Number one. Number two, I assume that chartered accountants are having a very good grip of the legal provisions which are in relation to merits of the case. This is what my humble understanding and whatever my experience dealing with chartered accountant. I'm also a chartered accountant. This is what my experience. So I will always say that there is a great role of a chartered accountant in dealing with any cases before even the high courts.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your valuable time.
With this, we can conclude. Thank you very much for the branch for giving me this opportunity. Thank you each and everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Who was hearing this conversation and discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jatin, sir. So I would like to invite CA Arun Jindal sir to say vote of thanks to Jatin sir and members present over here and to conclude the session. Anuj sir, please.
Thank you, Aditi. First of all, respected CA Jatin Harjai from Jaipur, my elder colleague CA Amit Kumar, the chairman of Sonepat branch, and my another elder group CA Sumit Jetli, the chairman of Amritsar branch, and all other branch executives from Yamunanagar, Sonepat and Amritsar. A very good evening to all of you. First of all, I like to thank CA Jatin Harjai from Jaipur, from all of us to discuss the matter which is untouched till date by most of our professionals. Appeal and revision is the most important aspect of the GST implementation, which is untouched so far. So, sir, a big thank you from all of us for giving such inside knowledge of the act and briefing the facts in such a simple way. I must say that in a chat book there are so many appreciations are given to you, sir, for your deliberations, how you tackle the things and explaining the things in a very simple way. Thank you so much, sir. Hopefully, we will have this kind of sessions in near future also, and then we will discuss in more detail. I also like to thank CA Amit Kumar, the chairman of Sonepat branch, who take this initiative and giving this opportunity to us to hear Jatin Harjai, sir. Thank you so much, Amit ji, and I
Thank
also
you.
like to
Thank you,
thank
sir.
all the viewers who are with us through all sessions across the India. I would seen so many chairmen also of other regions are with us through that session. So I thank you all of you for joining this session and giving your valuable time to us. Thank you so much. Over to you,
Thank
Ajay.
you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, should I discuss?
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
I
you.
think we
sir.
can
Okay.
conclude this.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you, everyone.